Yeah, there we go. Still hear you. Okay, still hear you. Hello, we can still hear you, Mark, on here. Hello, everybody. Chip Towers from Dog Nation back with you at a special 8 o'clock hour tonight. Just because I like to stay up a little bit later on Thursday nights. No, I actually had some traveling today, some Dog Nation business that shall go unmentioned right now. It's secret. But I know you loyal readers and listeners to the Marco's Pizza Towers Take every Thursday night know that we are always working for you. We're always working on something. So let me first hit you with our traditional opening thank you and welcome to the Towers Take, brought to you by Marco's Pizza. As you know from tuning in here, Marco's Pizza is America's #1 pizza company, and they do a great job, guys. You need to check it out, marcos.com. They'll give you a pizza, an authentic Italian pizza delivered straight to you, probably before we even get off of this podcast. I've already consumed mine for the day. It's a little bit later than usual, and like I said, I was running a little late, so we had to push this back a little bit late. So if you're out there, I really appreciate it. There is so much to get to. Now, you'd think, wouldn't you? It's late January. Football season is weeks behind us now. Fortunately for Georgia, only a couple of weeks behind us because their season lasted to January 8th, and it was a terrific season. So I'll be taking your questions here shortly, and let me just see if I can get your comments up. Those of you who are here regular, wow, there's a lot of you guys on here already. Hey! This stuff works. That's fantastic. Let's see if we can actually see some comments. Yeah, there we go. Raymond Cox. Raymond Cox wants a scoop, please. Oh, a scoop. What can I give you? Justin Fields is going to win a big award tonight. How about that one? A lot of people on here. Hey, let me take care of one sort of item of in-house business here real quick. I have not communicated this in this forum. You might have seen it in other forums on the Dog Nation Facebook page. But I don't know how many of you out there pray or send out good feelings or whatever. But one of our own Dog Nation, SEC Country, Cox Media Group, Czar Perez, one of our producers, was in a horrible accident a couple of weeks ago, January 12th, in fact, down on I-16, was a victim of a head-on collision accident that was not his fault, and he is severely injured, and he's been in a hospital in Macon up until today, what I understand from Michael Carvel, who oversees the Cox Media Verticals, SEC Country and all the Dog Nation and all the other ones there, tells me that he has been moved to the Shepherd Center. But as anybody knows who's been through this, this is a really expensive thing. So, if it's in your heart or within your power, check out a GoFundMe page called if you just Google GoFundMe and Czar's, it's spelled C-E-S-A-R. But it's pronounced Czar Perez, but Czar's Recovery on GoFundMe. And, if you can just toss $1 his way or $20 or even more if you're in that kind of position. I've been remiss not to bring that to you because I really appreciate the loyal people who are on there, and Czar is the very graphics that you see on this, when pictures come up and that thing that has my name under it with Marcos on it and all the different stuff. That's the type of stuff that Czar does, and he's a young guy, a good-looking guy, and God's taking care of the tough part. He has survived, but he's now the hard part is in Czar's court, a long recovery. So I really appreciate that, and I hope you guys don't mind me bringing it to your attention, but I'm a big believer in people who can put their thoughts together and can make great things happen. So all that for Cesar. Like I said, I've been on the road. I'm working on a project. You should see the benefits of that project soon. As I said earlier, you should always know that we're always working on something at Dawg Nation. We don't sit idle, even if it's late January or early February, which is really interesting to me. You know, this whole National Signing Day is going to be so different. With Georgia already having 20 signees, you can only sign 25 every year now, and you know, that is going to be really interesting to see how that comes down. From what I understand, now those of you, I understand that like the people that go up there to Blind Pig Tavern in Athens, they're still going to have their spread. I don't think Georgia's going to do their same thing. University of Georgia, I was talking to Claude Felton the other day, and it doesn't look like he's going to have you know, the donuts and coffee out there at 6 a.m. like they used to, and you know, they're not going to. UGA, I don't think is going to do their live bit there like they normally do on National Signing Day, because it's, you know, hey, you got 5 people you can sign. Now, who they sign is going to be very interesting. When you only have 5 to sign, you already have 20 in the fold. That's gonna be tough. Charles Kaiser says, "Tell me about Ben Cleveland." You know what? Ever since I've moved, I do not know where my Ben Cleveland bell is. So I've got to get that back out, Charles. I will find that bell, and I'm ringing it for you in spirit here right now. And what was some other questions I had here? Let's see. What was I just missed that one. Yeah, Tom Hopkins says, "Where is that pizza, Chip?" I think that's the one I was paying attention to. I'm sorry. The pizza is in the belly. Sorry about that. So give me your questions. Let me give you a rundown real quick of what's going on. Like I said, I've been on the road working on a project. Hope you've had an opportunity to read the series that I'm doing, the top 10 moments of 2017, up to number 6, I believe. So you'll get number 5 tomorrow, and then 4, 3, 2, 1 in the next consecutive days, provided I can get it all done in time. But that's what the plan is right now. Moment number 6 today was quarterback Jacob Eason going down with an injury in Georgia's first game. Some people might say that was the top moment of 2017. Some people say that's not a moment that belongs in there, but as we all know, that moment resulted in Jacob Eason going to the sideline and Jake Fromm coming in, and however you shape it up, slice it up, that was a big moment in my opinion. Number 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 are going to be really interesting. And here's the deal, guys. This was hard. I got feedback from a lot of you guys online, and I appreciate that. And it's tough, especially when you get into, you know, the SEC championship game, the Rose Bowl, and the CFP championship game, the college football championship game. There's a lot of moments in there, and I'm having to figure out how to handle all those and get them, because, you know, you could have 10 moments in each of those games, right? Maybe we should have done a top 30 moments from the last 3 games or something like that. So there's the top 10 moments that I'm working on right now. I'm looking at your comments right now. If you have a good question, I'm going to answer it. A lot of trolls out there. Somebody just asked, Trip Davidson, thanks for being on here, ask, is Natrez is good, right? We don't have a definitive word from Kirby Smart, but it appears as though Natrez is going to come back. He was on the sideline from the college football championship game. Georgia has retooled its substance abuse policy a little bit. He has been getting treatment. I think everybody knows that's his own personal thing, and we all wish him luck with that. As to how Kirby and them and Greg McGarity and Jerry Moorhead decide to dispense with what has been a long-term policy That'll be up to them, and they have not communicated that to us yet, but all indications are that he'll be back, and kind of the word behind the scene, was that Kirby was angling, for lack of a better word. I know he has Natrez's long-term and future and health, at the forefront, but I think he was more concerned about getting him back for this coming season than he was for these last 2 games of the year. There is a supplemental draft that I suppose he could enter if he wanted to. He was eligible as a junior to enter the draft as an underclassman. I have no reason to think he's going to do that, so please don't misunderstand that. Chris Collins is saying Eason is a Husky now. I actually haven't seen any official announcement from Washington, and I keep texting, Jacob and his father and not getting much on that end. But suffice it to say, he's not here anymore, and Seattle Times has laid their reputation on he's going to end up there. Though I did get a communication from Mr. Eason that they were not the source that he was going to end up at Washington. But believe me, that makes perfect sense, considering all the traveling they've done these last 2 years. And I couldn't see them doing another year with no guarantee of Jacob being anything more than a backup. So certainly do understand that. Carlos Cardoza talks about, can you imagine if Natrez is 100% focused? I don't think Natrez had any problem focusing during the games. He played well, y'all, when he was in there. I watched enough game. Well, so obviously I watched every minute of all the games, but reviewed too, and he's good. He's different when he's in there. And him and Roquan were a pretty tough combination. It's too bad he had to miss as many games as he has from a football standpoint. It's very unimportant in the grand scheme of things. So the draft profiles I told you about are also coming out. I've done the NFL draft profiles. I've done one on Roquan Smith, one on Javon Wims. The idea is to try to do them all of Georgia's draft prospects. It by all indications, as you could imagine, with a 13-2 team that made it to the national championship game, or that Georgia will have a big year in the draft. No guarantee about that. The only guy they got playing in the Senior Bowl is Isaiah Wynn, actually. But, it's going to be interesting, the future of that Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl, I think, is finding itself falling in the territory of regular bowl games where, a lot of players are like, I don't know, do I need to go there? Javon Wims didn't want to go there. He banged up his shoulder in the championship game, actually didn't play the second half against Alabama, which was not a small thing, though Riley Ridley got a lot of those targets. But, he's not going to risk hurting his shoulder more by playing in that game, so he's continuing to rehab in Atlanta and focusing on the Combine, which he was fortunate enough to be invited to. Jeff Sintel and his intel, he's actually right now, he's at the Touchdown Club of Atlanta. I'm looking at your comments over here, so I'm trying to multitask, which is hard for me, as you guys know who tune in regularly. But Justin Fields is down there. Obviously, he's an early enrollee. I don't know if it's been officially announced yet, but my understanding is he's going to be Mr. Georgia football. I hope I'm not, scooping anything on that, but I think that was the case. And, oddly enough, I don't think they were going to make Justin available for interviews, even though he's in that public forum and all that. I think Kirby and them have asked that he and the other early enrollees at Georgia that are attending that won't be available for interviews, even though they're in that very public environment. It's neither here nor there. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about that stuff. I just think it's crazy. I mean, it's Deacon Jamal Bacon wants to know, is Fields redshirting? Heck no. Are you kidding me? Shoot, they only have 2 quarterbacks. They'll get Justin Fields ready to play now. I mean, and Kirby's going to tell you that he's competing with Jake Fromm, for the starting job, and I guess technically he will be, but I don't expect him to unseat Jake Fromm between spring and the fall. But they got to get Justin ready to play. They got to have him to be ready to play in case Jake Fromm goes down. He's a very different kind of player, so I assume they'll have a Justin Fields package, and he's got to be ready to go, just like Jake Fromm had to be ready to go with Jacob Eason. And then third wheel in that little party is Stetson Bennett. And don't scoff at Stetson Bennett. That kid's a good player. I've heard a lot of really good things about him that's come up from his teammates talking about him, what a good look he gave them in scout team work all year. He's a smallish guy, but he's really elusive. Did a great job of giving them a Baker Mayfield picture, I understand, and then many of those other mobile quarterbacks. Got a good arm for a small guy. I mean, he'll be in there in a pinch. Hey, that's a good Philly cheesesteak, Kevin Blackman, that Marcos offers. It's a really good cheesesteak, and you need to try it before you make any determination. I'll just put it that way. Don Lester saying, where is Eason going? You know, all indications are Washington, but we don't have any official confirmation on that. Rick Martin says, Adam Anderson was interviewed by Fox 5 at 6 p.m. You know, Jeff was told specifically not to, but, you know, maybe he will. Hey, have y'all seen these? These are the SEC champ mugs. You can get these on AJC.com, I believe. It's a copy of the front page SEC champs and Chubb on there. Somebody gave me this for a Christmas present. Isn't that cool? You can also get your Dog Nation mugs and stuff at dognation.com. Chris Snow says, thanks for doing this. I'm already missing Georgia football. You know, it's interesting. It's kind of a time that we find ourselves in. I see people already it's my editor, Daniel Shirley, wants me to write a Towers take on our Georgia fans over it now. I'd be interested to see your comments here and on my Facebook pages in the next couple of days to let me know if you're over it yet. Some people aren't over it yet. Some people are over it. Javon Wims, when I was talking to him the other day, he said he's over it. Nothing you can do about it now. But heck, the athletes always get over it before the fans do. You know, it's just a whole different thing. Holyfield's doing fine. Holyfield is great. Holyfield's going to play a lot. That's a question from Jamal Doty. Another person wants to know about Zamir White's recovery. Any details? No details. He didn't have surgery immediately. He had it a while later, but he'll be fine. Bill Kibbe apparently knows about Stetson. Says Stetson is a little beast, and that's what I hear about him. Ease Brown says, "What's up, Chip? Does anybody do what's up anymore?" A couple more items I have on my little bulletin board here. My bullet points. Not a bulletin board. I don't have a bulletin board. Who has a bulletin board anymore? Men's basketball. I had a few people asking. Of course, as tends to happen in these type of formats. Troy Sadowski says, "Nope, still sour about whether he's over it or not." You know, a bunch of people coming over here. Mark Fox ought to be fired. I don't know whether he ought to be fired or not, but that's definitely in play now. Being perfectly honest, you know, 9 years. And, man, that loss to Arkansas in double overtime this past weekend was bad. I'm not saying that Arkansas is a bad team at all. In fact, they are Georgia in inverse. But Georgia, based on the type of team they're supposed to have this year, got to have that game. You got to win those home games. They're on your home floor. Now you've already lost Arkansas and South Carolina on your home floor. We're not talking about Florida and Kentucky, which still have to come back here. Tennessee's good. The league's good. That was a tough loss for Mark Fox and the program. And I like Mark Fox a lot. Terrific guy. One of the smartest people I know. Seth and I have often talked about what a fantastic athletic director he would probably make somewhere. He's a good basketball coach too, but for whatever reason, they couldn't get that one done, and they needed to get it done. I mean, just a lot of missed shots, the turnover in overtime, unforced on the baseline, you know, point blank missed shots, missed free throws from your best free throw shooters. Ed Blythe pointing out here, Kentucky is down. You got to go get them in those type of years. Florida just lost to South Carolina at home, so South Carolina is emerging again, Final Four team last year, and you still got to go over there and play them. I mean, it looks kind of bleak, to be honest with you, and it's up to them. I mean, this is what athletics is all about. I hope they get pissed off at what I say and everything else and steel themselves and make a great run here. But, I don't know that it's NCAA or bust necessarily for Mark Fox in terms of his standing with Greg McGarity. But you guys have been around as long as I am. You know that they just have to do better. A lot of money invested in that program in recent years, maybe not enough. And while we're talking about hoops, I want to give a shout out real quick before we get too late to the Lady Dawgs team. A lot of people, we've been enduring a lot of criticism, and I understand it, for not giving the women's basketball team more love or covering the basketball team more. They're actually in a war right now. At last check, they were leading at halftime against Missouri, but the number 21 Lady Dawgs are 17-2. The number 11 Missouri Tigers are in Stegman right now and playing. They are also 17-2. Georgia was leading 32-27 at the half. Actually, that's why I'm holding my phone, was to try to keep up with that game a little bit. Georgia is still leading 40-39 with 13 seconds left in the third quarter. And I say that my buddy Jeff Danzler, you guys all know him. He's the voice of the Lady Dawgs. He actually texted me today. I was, like I said, on a secret project somewhere. I wasn't in a position where I could respond to him, but he said, "Can you show our Lady Dawgs some love?" And we're trying to. There's only so many of us, and we live in the age, y'all, of digital analytics, and so we kind of know what the majority of people are clicking on and reading about, and so we try to serve. We try to serve the majority of our customers what they want. That does not mean that the Hoop Dogs don't deserve, coverage of every game, home and on the road. But it's just, we just have to make choices like that. Missouri's coming back, by the way, 40-39 now at the end of the third quarter. So they're heading to the fourth quarter, 1-point game, exactly as you would expect it to be. I don't know why Missouri is rated 10 places higher than Georgia, but obviously they got them at home. So anyway, basketball, even men's basketball, based on the analytics we get, doesn't move the needle as much as you'd like. I mean, we could, Seth and I can be doing an expose on the backup right guard and generally get more. But that's not what we base all our decisions on. And certainly, as the Lady Dawgs continue on, they're 17-2. They're gonna be in the postseason. I'm sure they'll have big things to play for, and I promise you, we'll get on it. It's kind of the same thing with baseball. I see some comments down here. Ed Rocker is asking about what about dog baseball. Strickland has been in Athens in 4 years and has 0 winning seasons. Should he be fired? Ed Rocker said, and I don't like talking about that stuff, but it's such a reality in our business, and Scott Strickland, I know is a good man, good family man, does a good job, works hard. So I know he's doing his level best, and it's a big year for him. Now, I get conflicting reports. There's a buddy I know who's in baseball. My son takes baseball lessons from him, Jake Crane, of Level 5 baseball in Athens, does a great job, and he thinks that Georgia's going to have a pretty good team this year. Others I've talked to have said, no, they're not, that it's going to be a tough year for them. So, gosh, I certainly couldn't speak with a great deal of authority on that. But I know Georgia baseball has been very, very good in the not-too-distant past. Certainly David Perno had them, going to the postseason pretty much every other year and taking them pretty deep when they did. Yeah, I mean, Georgia baseball should be better than what they have been the past 4 years, and I'm sure Scott Strickland is really feeling the pressure on that. And hey, volleyball coaches, soccer coaches, Billy Lassane, man, these guys bust their butts. They really do. They work so hard. Jeff Wallace, Manny Diaz, Jack Bowerly, the women's basketball the women's and men's swimming, terrific national championship program. It's hard to stay on top. Competitive league. So Ken Feinberg, speaking of backup guards, what about Solomon Kinley? That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, Solomon Kinley, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that because, I mean, I imagine you're going to have an opening at right tackle because my understanding is Andrew Thomas is going to move and be your left tackle. I mean, that's not guaranteed. I'm sure, you know, Kirby's not going to validate that and check that off right now. There's going to be competition. But if that does happen, there's an opening at right tackle. Ben Cleveland was getting a lot of work at that right tackle before he moved down to, you know, kind of take over at right guard for Solomon Kinley. So you would think, you know, just on the surface, probably the way they start spring practice is Ben Cleveland at right tackle, Solomon Kinley at right guard, Andrew Thomas at left tackle. Where does Isaiah Wilson fit in? I don't know. I don't know if he does fit in. He's certainly highly advertised and stuff and could come in there. Ladies and gentlemen, he is announcing, so I'm going to announce, Ken Blankenship is here, ladies and gentlemen. That is Hot Rod's brother, all the way from Arizona. And Ken is a great guy. By the way, Hot Rod's got a birthday coming up, if I'm not mistaken. So y'all be sure to reach out to him on his social media platforms and wish him a happy birthday. I'm not sure if we're right on top of it or beyond it, or but I know there's a party for him coming up. Yeah, Kevin Blackman brings up Notori Johnson. See how you guys just hijack this. I talked about how you'd rather talk about a guard, a backup guard, and here we are. Yeah, Justin Schaefer too. There's a lot of guys, plus the guys that you signed coming in, the Mays kid, all the others. One area is that Kirby and those guys have worked really hard to improve is the O-line depth, the choice of O-line. There's a bunch of them over there. Troy Sadowski, who was a tight end, by the way, points out that Cleveland is a better guard than tackling. I think we saw that. It's interesting, isn't it, Troy, the way the guards have changed. You remember, I think Kim Stevens was a guard on your line. It used to be the quick, you know, smaller, fast guy at the guard who would pull and get out there ahead of that toss sweep. Georgia doesn't run enough toss sweep for me, but I'm probably old school in that way. Now the guards are big and strong, and they're in there to control the giant nose guards that are out there in these different 3-4 sets, and the you know, the people in the one gap and you know, big nose guards like that Duran, what's his name for Alabama that whipped Georgia's butt so bad in the national championship game. I'm down to 1 minute here, guys. So if you get a good question, I will answer it. But generally, I need to be wrapping it up. So again, I want to thank our sponsor, Marco's Pizza, for sponsoring Towers Take. It's brought to you by Marco's Pizza. And you can order Marco's Pizza, marcos.com, and have an authentic Italian pizza delivered straight to you. And as I said at the beginning, Cesar Perez, spelled like Caesar, Caesar's Recovery, CESARS Recovery. If you look at that at GoFundMe and you can help out a good dude, we would be very glad about it. For Mark LeBlanc and all the people at Dog Nation, thanks for hanging out with me a little bit tonight. I'm sorry for the late start. We should be back at our regular 6 o'clock slot next week, barring another project or something that I have to do. And, you know, cheers to you. Thanks for hanging out and reading Dog Nation. Good night, y'all.